Okay. Uh, I look. This is not my fault. This is not my fault. All right, I'm not gonna take the blame for this because, like, when I have to figure out wording is the problem over anything else, that's not on me. That is on the game for doing that shit to me. All right. I did look this up. I did, but as soon as I saw head first and looked at this and at the bottom area of this specifically, that's not head first. Why would he know head first? Why would he say it that way? That doesn't make sense. Nothing about it is head first. So, I missed it just by a bit! By a bit! I'm so annoyed. Like, how am I supposed to know this? Like, I'll take my two penalties for having to look this shit up. It's fine, it's whatever. But, like, honestly, there's nothing about a head first bottom situation. It just said it crashed down. That's all it says. So I'm just kind of wild in here at the fact that, like, I literally could have gamed over simply because I did not hear head first the way that he said it.
Objection.
Wild. We've examined the birdcage that crashed into the crystal tower ourselves. As you can see, the cage, which is a wooden construction, has sustained damage in one particular spot. Following the explosion, it fell some 30 feet into the glass of a crystal tower. That leaf of damage is to be expected, surely. I agree. The damage itself is entirely understandable. What doesn't make sense is the location of that damage. All the breakages in the wood are at the base of the birdcage, not the top. What are you saying? What are you saying? That's the opposite of where they should be. That's right, my lord. The birdcage that was at the scene is damaged at its base. So you have reports of the birdcage falling head along into the crystal tower. Yet the damage is at the bottom? The only way to reconcile these two facts is to accept that there were two birdcages in play that day, which were at some point switched. Switched during what wasn't a scientific experiment at all, but an elaborate piece of stage trickery. Good gracious! Explain yourself, witness. Well, if we examine the facts, there's only one logical conclusion we could draw. The damage on the base of the birdcage clearly indicates that it crashed tail first into the tower.
Objection.
But multiple witness reports claim it fell head first. The birdcage materialized in the sky next to the balloon, flying over the stage, following a spontaneous explosion. An altitude of 60 feet above the ground, which is approximately 18 meters. It then proceeded to fall some 30 feet into the crystal tower in an ensuing deflagration. Witness reports amid such chaos are notoriously unreliable.
Objection.
But the victim's neck was broken.
Objection.
He plummeted 30 feet inside a heavy wooden cage. However he fell, it would be unsurprising to find one or two of his vertebrae crushed. A riveting scientific analysis of events from the prosecution there. Though to be even more rigorous, you would have to say it was only one vertebrae, actually. It wasn't quite for long. find it hard to see what's motivating Lord Van Zeeks. This witness is clearly a swindler, and one who deceived a personal friend of his. If you're going to establish this deception, do it right. Sorry? I feel like that's the undertone here. Oh, yes, that's one more point. The defense appears to have forgotten. It obviously wasn't a trick, and as a certain truth very plainly demonstrates. What? It seems to me that the cross-examination had better continue until you resolve this matter. Mr. Trevor, you will amend your testimony with details of this truth. Of course, we must treat the matter scientifically, after all. Really had him there. I can't believe this bitch. I can't believe this bitch. The cadences clearly took place because there's nowhere else 30 feet high for the birdcage to have fallen from.
Hold it!
What do you mean? Well, before the demonstration began, the victim was alive on stage in front of an audience. Yes, there are lots of witnesses who saw Mr. Osmond on the experimentation stage, that's true. And the victim's neck broke as a result of an impact following the fall. Logically, therefore, the victim must have fallen from somewhere. The balloon that exploded was at an altitude of 60 feet. The point of impact on the tower was 30 feet up. The difference of 30 feet is therefore the total distance of the birdcage failed. There's no other location from which the cage could have fallen that distance if it didn't drop out of the sky. Ergo, the victim himself must have been beamed to the stage in the sky above the Crystal Tower. Trident's scientific analysis. Yeah, me. Every time I hear it explained, it sounds incredibly implausible. Oh, yes. It's all very well thought out. Certainly all the specters on the day we saw it. The birdcage plummeting 30 feet through the air, I mean. Pretendingly, yes. Perhaps took place because there's nowhere else 30 feet high for a birdcage to fall, but there is. The balloon. Inside the balloon. Do we really do that? The balloon? There is no other place? The tower, maybe? Clothing of Professor Waxwork. To appear to be from the Crystal Tower. Clothing of the Professor Waxwork. Could it be this?
Objection!
No, it's not. I thought maybe. I was doing too much of it. Oof. I'm not doing so hot with this. Photograph the balloon.
Objection!
No, not the balloon? Okay, well, we might be sent to Japan this time, fam. We might be sent to Japan. Took place because there's nowhere else 30 feet high for the birdcage to have fallen. My thought process was, one, we do have this for one of the bird cages to fall. And then two, we have this for the birdcage to fall. Causing damage to its base. Print of engineer. Mr. Ochin Drebber. The only other thing I can think is this. Very unusual and thick glass that was found in the folds of the clothing of the Professor Waxwork. The clothing of Professor Waxwork? Huh. That's odd. Like, I feel like I have all the top part of this solved, but none of the bottom part, you know? But there is, like, this here. Oh, what if it's this? It could be this. Could it be obstructing the view? Perhaps, by chance. Paisanos. 30 feet high for the birdcage to have fallen from. What if we...
Objection!
Hey! I got it this time! This is the diagram of the experimentation stage, and its surroundings. We know that somehow the birdcage appeared in mid-air before falling down to the crystal tower. A fall of about 30 feet, or 9 meters. However, if you examine the diagram carefully, you'll see that there's one other possible location from which the birdcage could have fallen. The same distance of 30 feet. No. Well, it appears the defense has a possible explanation to put forward. Go ahead, Consul. Yes, my lord. Of course. You will indicate the place in which you are referring on this same diagram. The alternative location from which the birdcage could possibly have fallen the requisite 30 feet. It should be here, actually. See how it's like there's nowhere else? It has to be here. I just don't know if it's specifically like this is the area or what.
Take that!
The place I'm referring to is here. But that's where the birdcage would have been to begin with. Which is exactly the point, my lord. Yes, the birdcage was in the machine on the stage. But what we must have also considered is the height of the stage itself. Go on, Consul. It turns out the experimentation stage was built at a considerable height above ground. If you look at the diagram, in fact, you'll see it's about the same height above the ground as the balloon was above the crash site. When the experiment got underway, the machine and the birdcage were engulfed in steam. At that moment, the floor of the stage gave way. And if we assume there to be a void underneath, this birdcage and the one seen by the audience would have fallen almost exactly the same distance. Once again, my lord, this all points to the fact that there was not one birdcage, but two.
Objection!
My learned friend has no evidence that the stage had such a contrivance in its design. Someone is responsible for the criminal destruction of the kinetic machine itself, it's true. However, the stage still stands. And take a moment to look at the photograph print at the scene following yesterday's explosion. The Lord, the metal grill that formed the floor of the machine is undone. Yes, most likely blown open by the force of the explosion that destroyed the rest of the machine. The defense calls for the space below the stage to be investigated immediately. Mr. Trevor, it was you who built the kineticist machine, which means that it was you who built the two bird cages that were used to carry out this deception. Whether Professor Harebrain's hypothesis is sound or not makes no difference, because it's the construction of the machine that matters. The machine is designed to take Mr. Osmond's life and lay the blame firmly at the professor's door. It can only be been carried out by you, Mr. Anach Drebber.
Objection!
If my learned friend has reached the end of his wild assertions, the prosecution would like to crush the defense's argument slowly, but surely. What? Your argument fails to hold water on 2 counts. 2? Firstly, before and after the experiment, this witness went nowhere near the kineticist machine. Every relevant member of staff from the exposition has attested to that. I believe members of Scotland Yard have also been on watch duty at every public experiment. In other words, Mr. Trevor had no opportunity to switch the alleged pair of bird cages.
Objection!
I've already explained why he wouldn't have needed to. The nonsense with the crossbow, that doesn't bolster your case at all. The man who disappeared from the stage and the man who crashed in the tower are one and the same. The forensic investigation team's report is unequivocal on that point. The second flaw in your assertion is a distinct lack of motive. Why would this man have wanted to take the victim's life? He had no reason to. A motive? I think of everything myself? I have here a contract provided by the witness. What contract is this, Lord Van Zieks? The contract into which Mr. Drebber entered with the victim, Mr. Osmond. It reads, Mr. Drebber is to receive 30% of all remunerations from government grants or other income. 30%? Certainly very favorable contractual conditions. But there was one very important provision bolted onto that clause. What provision? Mr. Drebber may only uphold this right on condition that both contracting parties are alive. In other words, if either of us were to die, the contract would become null and void. So you see, I had nothing to gain from Mr. Osmond's death. The diametric opposite, in fact. Need I say more? The witness had neither opportunity nor a reason to commit the alleged crime. In short, the possibility of Mr. Drebber having done as you suggest is nil. Seems the defense's assertion is somewhat wide of the mark. Lord Van Zieks, you will submit the contract as evidence, please. Okay. It's true. Drebber had no opportunity to switch the birdcage under the stage with the one in the Crystal Tower. Could have done it. And in any case, I have no idea what his motive might have been. There's one aspect of your argument that It still holds true, however. There were 2 bird cages. The prosecution is unable to deny that. Oh. Get their asses out though. Sato sad. Kawaii. The investor, so this and that. Happy. Ah! So I'm sure you're on the right lines, Mr. Naruto. And no doubt there are other aspects of your assertion. There are undeniable truths, too. Well, it would seem the defense has no rejoinder to the offer. Well, I must say, I'm a little surprised. I came here to testify about the machine I built. Instead, my reputation is defiled. But the prosecution's counter has set the record straight, I think. It's impossible that I'm the culprit.
Objection!
At the beginning of this trial, we believed that there was only 1 birdcage. Yet we know there must have been 2. In other words, there was more to the demonstration than we realized at first. I think it's abundantly clear that the same applies to the culprit. Get to the point. The stage demonstration was constructed and set up entirely by you, Mr. Trevor. Therefore, it's inconceivable that you had no hand in the events that transpired. So if circumstances mean, it's impossible that you could have carried out the crime yourself. It points to the fact that someone else was involved. Someone else? Counsel, are you suggesting? Yes, my lord. Mr. Draper had an accomplice.
Objection!
An accomplice now. Well then, I presume you're prepared for what's to come? Now that you accuse not only this witness, but someone else of the most serious of crimes, these accusations turn out to be false. And make no mistake, the prosecution will demand an equally serious punishment for your slander. Well, counsel, do you intend to pursue this course? Only accuse another party of involvement in this matter. What do I do here? At the moment, this is little more than a hunch on my part. I don't know for sure if Trevor had an accomplice, or even he really is the culprit here. One way or another, though, make my position clear. As a lawyer, but what's my stance going to be? Did Trevor have an accomplice or not? Name him. The defense is ready to name Mr. Trevor's accomplice. Somehow the 2 birdcage must have been switched. Nothing points to that. According to the coroner's report, not a possibility. But that inconsistency itself is a clue. Counsel. My lord! You have received a starch warning already. You are nevertheless determined. Then I must ask you now to identify this alleged accomplice by name. So, your answer, please. Who do you claim to have been Mr. Trevor's accomplice? Courtney Seath?
Take that!
It has to be, right? The name of the person in question is... What's wrong, Mr. Nipponese friend? Surely fear doesn't bind your tongue now. A little late for that. Because I'm afraid. After all, naming her in this capacity is definitely going to make waves. a lot of waves. I could very well turn every single person in this courtroom against me. I'm sure I'll be alright, Mr. Naruto. Thank you, Mrs. Sato. The enemy always appears larger than life, but you'll appear exactly the same to the enemy. Alright then. Here goes. Kept up waiting too long enough. Your answer console. Now. The person who concluded with Mr. Drebber in order to carry out this wicked crime is Scotland Yard's coroner, Dr. Courtney Seath. What the blazes are you talking about? Dr. Seath? The head of the forensics investigation team and the coroner who conducted the autopsy on the victim? We know there were 2 bird cages, so who could have carried out the switch to complete the illusion? The accident happened in front of a huge crowd of spectators, and the area was immediately sealed off. Then everyone, police officers included, were banished to make way for the forensic investigation team. When else could have the switch have occurred? It could only have been in that team's presence. It's essential that the courtroom determines exactly what happened following the incident. The defense demands that Dr. Seath be summoned to the witness stand at once to testify. You got the nerve, lad. Standing up there, dragging the odd's name through the mud. I didn't mean to. I know the woman very well. There's no better dead room worker out there. How dare you call her credible? My learned friend's imagination appears to be wilder than the East End at night. But the recklessness of your accusation aside, is another grave problem of your argument. One which the prosecution demands you address at once. A grave problem? Grave? Oh my word. Who do you claim acted as the victim's doppelganger? What? Certainly if the birdcage containing the body of the victim was exchanged for another, that cage must have also had contained a body. And yet, no missing persons or accidental deaths of anyone even remotely resembling the victim have been reported. Which means there was no one, dead or alive, who could have fulfilled the role of a body double for Mr. Osmond. That's true. My argument is that there were 2 bird cages, that there must also have been one person inside each. I don't know if I got an answer to this yet. Have I? What can I do to reveal this body double stunt was a cheat? I don't think we have it. What can I do to reveal how this body double stunt was achieved? We can name Madame Dispel, but we can also present evidence, specifically the evidence here. This one right here. The head of the professor. But I think we need her for it. We need the key. And if anyone's to have the key, it would be her. I think the most we could do is call her. Very well. The defense will address my learned friend's concerns by revealing the identity of the person who acted as Mr. Osmond's body double. Be my guest. Give us a name. My double in the birdcage were hiding inside the balloon was floating above the stage, which means that any witness would only have seen them from 60 feet away. So who was it that appeared out of the explosion some 80 meters above the spectators. Huh. In place of Mr. Osmond is the second birdcage was. Do we have the professor? I think we do. Pretty Osmond. Okay, we might have hecked up. Because it wasn't her. It was not her, but she had the thing. Oh, it could have been her, though. It legitimately could have been her. She's also the body double would make a lot of sense.
Take that!
No, we didn't get it. We didn't get it. We didn't get it. No. Oof. Oof. All right, we're gonna present evidence because the way that it didn't let me do it. Oh! Oh, if we just didn't take those hits previously, I would have been able to get something. Oh, no, 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 no!
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty! Guilty!
Guilty.
Kill me!
Damn. The whole shebangle bangle. This one's really fucking me up. Like, I'm gonna be honest. This one's hard. Dang, 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 dang. I do feel like it's Madame Dispel, and they might have been letting me do it, but the more I looked at her, I was like, maybe it's her. So I just kind of went too much in the sauce, I think.